crypto, politics, tech, and more. Get your daily news fix with News Source Scrollers April 9, 2020. Crypto, politics, tech, and more. Get your daily news fix with News Source Scrollers April 9, 2025 edition. Number 1 hit and more. YouTube music charts. Global top songs March 28 to April 3, 2025. Die with a Smile, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars.
APT, Rosé y Bruno Mars. El mayor de los ranas, Víctor Valverde y J.R. Torres.
Ranjan, Parampara Thakur. Spotify Weekly Top Songs Global. From the Friday, March 28 to Thursday, April 3, 2025. Die with a Smile, Lady Gaga APT. Rose Bruno Mars. Birds of a Feather. Billie Eilish. Ordinary, Alex Warren. Nintendo US Digital Bestsellers, from April 7, 2025. Minecraft. Super Mario Party Jamboree. Stardew Valley. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Steam's hottest games. Global top-selling and top-played games across Steam. From the top 100 products by revenue list, for Tuesday, March 25, 2025 to Tuesday, April 1, 2025. To Tuesday, April 1, 2025. Schedule 1. Counter-Strike 2. Ezo. RPO. The First Berserker Kazan. CISA's cybersecurity alerts and advisories. NSA, CISA, FBI, and international partners release cybersecurity advisory on FastFlux, a national security threat. FastFlux is a technique used to obfuscate the locations of malicious servers through rapidly changing domain name system, DNS, records associated with a single domain name. This threat exploits a gap commonly found in network defenses, making the tracking and blocking of malicious FastFlux activities difficult. One more drop in the ocean of AI. Meta Llama's Llama 4 Scout 17B16 Instruct. The Llama 4 models are autoregressive language models that use a mixture of experts, MO architecture and incorporate early fusion for native multimodality. U.S.-Iran in direct talks over nuclear program. Trump says and Iran says it will have indirect talks with the U.S. and Oman on Saturday. Hezbollah says ready to discuss disarming if Israel withdraws from South Lebanon. Reuters reports that Iran-backed militias in Iraq ready to disarm to avert Trump wrath. Volkswagen's Audi holding cars in U.S. ports due to autos tariff, and EU offers Trump removal of all industrial tariffs. It has been commented as EU frets over flood of Chinese imports as Trump stokes tariff war. Formed to do damage to U.S. Trump rejects EU's offer of 0 for 0 tariffs, as Trump says EU must buy $350 billion of U.S. energy to get tariff relief. China has the tools to weather Trump's storm, Premier Li tells EU's von der Leyen, as Brussels eyes 25% tariffs in response to Trump. Palestinian Red Crescent says autopsies show slain Gaza medics were shot with intent to kill, and an Israeli strike hit near a charity kitchen in Gaza as Palestinians gathered for food. Israel controls 50% of Gaza after raising land to expand its buffer zone. Indonesia willing to temporarily house 1,000 refugees from Gaza. GM's UK design team imagines an electrified Corvette. Kawasaki unveils a hydrogen-powered ride-on robot horse. Amazon Zoox begins robotaxi testing in Los Angeles. Stone tool discovery in China shows people in East Asia were innovating during the Middle Paleolithic like in Europe and Middle East. De-extinction startup with $10 billion valuation revives dire wolf. Anthrax kills 50 hippos in Congo's Virunga National Park. Apple customers dash to stores to buy iPhones ahead of tariffs. Reuters reports that Micron to impose tariff-related surcharge on some products from April 9, sources say. The Guardian comments as, Trump's very beautiful tariffs will fix America, masculinity and the family. It said so on Fox News. Madonna and Elton John finally end their feud, decades after he slammed her for lip-syncing. Forgiveness is a powerful tool. Werner Herzog to be honored at Venice Film Festival with Golden Lion for career achievement. Lightning strikes help Panama's almendro tree grow stronger. In Germany, 15 schools in Duisburg closed after far-right threats. The Guardian comments as, U.S. student journalists go dark fearing Trump crusade against pro-Palestinian speech. In the U.S. DOJ, some January 6 defendants should be repaid money they sent to Congress. 2 months ago it has been reported as January 6 offenders have paid only a fraction of restitution owed for damage to U.S. Capitol during riot. Korea's snap presidential election expected to be held on June 3. Media. 2 ex-MLB players among at least 66 killed in nightmare Dominican Republic nightclub roof collapse. Kenya hopes designating massive Kakuma camp a city will help refugees assimilate. Trump threatens China with added 50% tariffs if Beijing does not drop its own levies. China says it will fight to the end after Trump threatens 50% additional tariffs, and Donald Trump triples tariffs to 90% on small parcels from mainland China, Hong Kong. China urges Shine to halt supply chain shift after tariffs, and Disney Store kicks off May the 4th early with exclusive Star Wars merch drops every week, as Amazon expands Hall Bargain Store with name brands, faster shipping. It has been commented as Brazil, Egypt and Singapore among potential winners from tariff onslaught. Indian component found in Russian weapon for first time, HUR says. Ukraine captures 2 Chinese soldiers fighting for Putin, Zelensky says, and Zelensky confirms Ukraine troops in Russia's Belgorod region. Japan says it wants to join a NATO command for the support of Ukraine. Ripple acquires crypto-friendly prime broker Hidden Road for $1.25 billion. Tether considers US-only stablecoin as Trump loosens crypto rules. Ant Group's tech unit picks Hong Kong for global headquarters amid AI, Web3 push. The Art Basel and UBS Global Art Market Report 2025 by Arts Economics says, 12% decline in overall sales to $57.5 billion for art sales. Rolex launches Oyster Perpetual Landweller, with 32 patent applications and patents. Robert De Niro to receive honorary Palme d'Or at Cannes Film Festival 2025, will lead masterclass. Nintendo says game key cards are not tied to accounts and can be loaned or resold. Hershey's chocolate is getting an origin story movie. Middle-aged man trading cards go viral in rural Japan town. Taiwan has no plans to adopt retaliatory tariffs, yet intends to expand purchases from the U.S., also plans to expand investments in the U.S. Bangladesh urges Trump to delay tariff, citing moves to boost imports from U.S. Reuters reports as Thailand to increase U.S. imports, lower taxes in tariff response. Bloomberg reports as Thailand won't rush to reduce taxes on U.S. imports, official says. Beijing tells U.S. firms to blame Washington for tariff tensions, hails China prospects. Reportedly, Musk made direct appeals to Trump to reverse sweeping new tariffs, and Elon Musk calls Trump's top trade advisor, Peter Navarro, a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks. Reportedly, Apple flew 5 flights full of iPhones from India and China in 3 days to beat Trump tariffs. Nearly 25% of companies in Hong Kong may follow government's wage freeze. Poll 2 months ago it has been announced Hong Kong to cut 10,000 civil service jobs, freeze pay amid deficit. In the UK, Post Office to offload all directly owned branches. The IMF reaches a deal with troubled Argentina on a $20 billion bailout. IBM launches new mainframe system to handle heavy workload of AI models. Andreessen Horowitz seeks to raise $20 billion megafund amid interest in US AI startups. TSMC could face $1 billion fine over chip found in Huawei AI processor, sources say. Google CTR study. AI overviews rise as click rates decline. As Bloomberg reports, Google AI search shift leaves website makers feeling betrayed. Google's AI mode search can now answer questions about images. Shopify CEO says staffers need to prove jobs can't be done by AI before asking for more headcount. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon says Trump tariffs will boost inflation, slow an already weakening U.S. economy. Goldman Sachs raises odds of U.S. recession to 45%, second hike in a week. Bill Ackman calls for 90-day timeout on tariffs, or risk self-induced, economic nuclear winter. Instagram is beefing up its search to compete with TikTok. Spotify pays African artists $59 million in 2024. Nigerian and South African stars ride global music wave. Teens under 16 will need permission to livestream on Instagram. Meta. In the U.S., ICE agents largely decide whether detainees are gang members and should be deported, Borderzar says, and migrants who entered U.S. via Biden-era CBP-1 app stripped of legal status, told to leave immediately. Germany suspends UN refugee resettlement with new coalition set to be less welcoming. European Union Border Agency investigates Greece over alleged rights violations. Panama official accuses Hong Kong port operator of misconduct, and U.S. will take back Panama Canal from China's influence, Trump defense chief says. Spain is pushing for EU pivot to China to counter Trump tariffs. LA Times comments as, Trump tariffs are another nail in the coffin for Hollywood in China. In the U.S. DOJ's crypto enforcement team, shifts focus to terrorism and fraud. Reuters reports that Musk's Doge using AI to snoop on U.S. federal workers, sources say. Reportedly, hackers to target Elon Musk for a full month. Hackers lurked in Treasury OCC's system since June 2023 breach, as U.S. financial regulator says email hack exposed sensitive data on banks. UK loses bid to keep Apple appeal against demand for iPhone backdoor, a secret. Fake job seekers are flooding U.S. companies that are hiring for remote positions, tech CEOs say. In the U.S. fired Justice Department pardon attorney accuses the agency of ongoing corruption, abuse of power. Trump and Paramount agree on mediator in 60 Minutes lawsuit. CBS reports that President Trump's New York fraud debt tops $500 million. In the U.S., top IRS officials set to resign after deal to give ICE migrants data. Trump believes U.S. has the capability to make iPhones, says the White House amidst tariff battle with China. Trump says U.S. will soon announce tariffs on pharmaceutical imports. As U.S. Congress, House will give Trump space on tariffs, Johnson says, and Trump threatens veto of bill to curb tariff power. Trump orders new review of Nippon-U.S. Steel merger. Dr. Oz pushed for AI healthcare in first Medicare agency town hall. 5 days ago, Dr. Oz confirmed to head agency that oversees Medicare and Medicaid. Expanding AI use, White House orders agencies to develop strategies and name leaders. China's biotech advances threaten U.S. dominance, warns congressional report, and U.S.'s AI lead over China rapidly shrinking. Stanford report. Ivorian fintech Jammo raises $17 million funding to enhance platform as it hits 1M active customers. Johnson & Johnson unit ordered to cough up $1.64 billion for illegal promotion of HIV drugs. Infineon announces acquisition of Marvell's automotive Ethernet business. In India, cyber scams targeting elderly fuel digital safety concerns. Clean energy powered 40% of global electricity in 2024, report finds. Trump signs orders aimed at reviving a struggling coal industry. In the U.S., National Weather Service no longer translating products for non-English speakers. In Malaysia, Central Bank, Bank Negara signals no rush to cut rates despite U.S. tariffs, ringgit volatility monitored. Majority of Americans oppose tariffs on Chinese goods, Pew survey shows. Chinese semiconductor, auto parts suppliers expect to gain from intensified U.S. trade war, and China may weaponize service trade to hit back against U.S. tariffs, commentators. Washington Post comments as MAGA Maoism is spreading through the populist right, as Besant, federal layoffs will help fill factory jobs created by Trump tariffs. China criticizes J.D. Vance for calling its people peasants. Right-wing group backed by Koch and Leo sues to stop Trump tariffs. Bloomberg reports as El Salvador is now viewed as safer to visit than France by the U.S. AP comments as U.S. expected a big travel year, but overseas visitors angered by Trump are heading elsewhere. Trump plans to fine migrants $998 a day for failing to leave after deportation order, and Supreme Court allows Trump to deport Venezuelans under wartime law, but only after judges review. Reportedly, Trump administration aims to spend $45 billion to expand immigrant detention, and U.S. sent 238 migrants to Salvadoran megaprison. Documents indicate most have no apparent criminal records. Caltech renames top diversity official while keeping DEI office intact. Trump administration freezes $1 billion for Cornell and $790 million for Northwestern, officials say. Trump admin cuts funding to Princeton University over climate programs. Trump administration says it cut funding to some life-saving UN food programs by mistake. 1 day ago, the U.S. ends life-saving food aid for millions. The World Food Program calls it a death sentence. Democrats launch new war room to counter Trump and Republicans. Washington Post comments as tariffs are taxing GOP unity, and Wall Street Journal comments as Wall Street starts to speak out against Trump's tariffs. Trump promises $1 trillion in defense spending for next year. Trump admin fires Navy admiral at NATO targeted by conservative group. As Trump administration fires senior Navy female officer at NATO. She appeared on a woke list. Trump orders 4-mile military parade for his 79th birthday. It has been commented as, Trump plans $92 million military parade, honoring himself. Trump administration weighs drone strikes on Mexican cartels. EU envoy says no talks yet with US on easing Russia sanctions. UK creating murder prediction tool to identify people most likely to kill. Ousted FDA vaccine chief says US measles elimination status under threat as cases climb. RFK Jr. says he plans to tell CDC to stop recommending fluoride in drinking water. Health Secretary RFK Jr. endorses the MMR vaccine, stoking fury among his supporters. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. claims anti-vax physicians healed some 300 measles-stricken children, and RFK Jr. visits Texas after second child dies of measles amid outbreak. Reportedly, Kennedy's plan to send health officials to Indian country angers native leaders.
Crypto, politics, tech, and more. Get your daily news fix with NewsSource Scrawlers April 7, 2025 edition. Number 1 hit and more. YouTube Music Charts, Global Top Songs March 28 to April 3, 2025. Die with a Smile, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars. APT, Rose and Bruno Mars. El Mayor de los Ranas, Victor Valverde and J.R. Torres. Ranjan, Parampara Thakur. Spotify Weekly Top Songs Global. From the Friday, March 28 to Thursday, April 3, 2025. Die with a Smile, Lady Gaga, APT, Rose, Bruno Mars. Birds of a Feather. Billie Eilish. Ordinary, Alex Warren. Nintendo US Digital Bestsellers, from April 7, 2025. Minecraft. Super Mario Party Jamboree. Stardew Valley. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Steam's Hottest Games. Global top-selling and top-played games across Steam. From the top 100 products by revenue list, for Tuesday, March 25, 2025 to Tuesday, April 1, 2025. Schedule 1. Counter-Strike 2. INZOI. REPO. The First Berserker, Kazan. CISA's Cybersecurity Alerts and Advisories. NSA, CISA, FBI, and international partners release cybersecurity advisory on FastFlux, a national security threat. FastFlux is a technique used to obfuscate the locations of malicious servers through rapidly changing domain name system, DNS, records associated with a single domain name. This threat exploits a gap commonly found in network defenses, making the tracking and blocking of malicious FastFlux activities difficult. One more drop in the ocean of AI. MetaLlama's Llama 4 Scout 17B16e Instruct. The Llama 4 models are autoregressive language models that use a mixture of experts, architecture and incorporate early fusion for native multimodality. TikTok deal put on hold after China objects over tariffs, sources say, and Trump extends TikTok deadline to divest, says China is unhappy about tariffs. China imposes 34% reciprocal tariffs on imports of U.S. goods in retaliation for Trump's trade war, as China hits back at U.S. tariffs with export controls on key rare earths, where China just turned off U.S. supplies of minerals critical for defense and clean tech. Trump says China played it wrong as stocks crash. Powell says tariff inflation could be more persistent as Trump urges him to cut rates. World's first 1nm RISC-V chip made in China with 2D materials. OpenAI has discussed buying Johnny Ive and Sam Altman's AI device startup. Air India partners with Apple to enable AirTag-based lost baggage tracking. CISA, FBI warn of FastFlux technique used to hide malicious servers. Hackers strike Australia's largest pension funds in coordinated attacks. Europcar GitLab breach exposes data of up to 200,000 customers. Wall Street Journal reports that Klarna pauses planned IPO in wake of Trump tariff announcement. Bloomberg comments as M&A and IPOs worth billions stalled in 24 hours by trade war. Nintendo delays Switch 2 pre-order date in the US to assess impact of Trump's tariffs. In the US, PSA pauses international grading submissions in wake of tariffs. Reportedly, Elon Musk, Dodge use access to social security data to elevate claims against migrants, as DHS officials ask IRS to use tax data to locate up to 7 million immigrants. Doge is planning a hackathon at the IRS. It wants easier access to taxpayer data. Politico comments as, the terror is real, and appalled tech industry is scared to criticize Elon Musk. U.S. tariffs don't violate NATO treaty, says NATO's Ruda. Musk says he hopes Europe and U.S. move to a zero-tariff situation. Apple considers expanding iPhone assembly in Brazil to get around U.S. tariffs. Trump signals possible tariff deal with Vietnam after productive call. Bucking Trump tariffs, California will push to maintain global trade independently, Newsom says. Indonesia will not retaliate against Trump tariff, minister says. Disney brings Avatar 3, Fantastic Four, Elio, Tron, Ares footage to CinemaCon. Las Vegas Sphere announces immersive The Wizard of Oz screening. USA expected to host Women's World Cup in 2031, could be joined by other CONCACAF nations. ByteDance confirms U.S. talks on TikTok after Trump gives 75-day extension for deal to save app, and Apple keeps TikTok on its store after assurances from AG Bondi, as Trump extends TikTok deadline for the second time. The Hollywood Reporter comments as, Vimeo wants to let every creator launch their own Netflix. Microdrama genre booms in Asia as top apps surpass 150 million active users, Omdia report. Israel kills a Hamas commander in Lebanon, further testing ceasefire. Inspectors say more than 100 chemical weapons sites could remain in Syria. New York Times reports, video shows 8 workers killed in Gaza under gunfire barrage, with ambulance lights on. WGA ratifies new 3-year contract with CBS News, securing key AI protections. U.S. authors' copyright lawsuits against OpenAI and Microsoft combined in New York with newspaper actions. AI could affect 40% of jobs and widen inequality between nations, UN warns. Russian spy sensors found tracking Britain's nuclear submarines in UK waters, report. White House reportedly blames auto-suggested iPhone contact for signal scandal. Sahel Alliance recalls ambassadors from Algiers over downed drone. Anthropic claims, reasoning models don't always say what they think. DeepSeek unveils new AI reasoning method as anticipation for its next-gen model rises. Meta announces Llama 4 series LLMs Maverick and Scout, claims leadership in all benchmarks for 400B parameter Maverick model, mentions 2T parameter behemoth going Thorog training. In the US, coal-fired power plant, now retired, to become massive gas-powered campus for AI, data centers. Texas A&M study, after 120 years of conservation efforts, Yellowstone bison are a single breeding population. Trump administration orders half of national forests open for logging. SEC declares covered stablecoins like USDT and USDC are not securities, no registration needed for minting or redeeming. Jim Cramer predicts 1987 Black Monday-style stock market crash because of Trump tariffs in viral video, and tariffs, tumbling yuan and sell-off. Chinese markets brace for volatile Monday as trading reopens after tit-for-tat levies on U.S. Trump's top economic advisor says 50 countries have reached out to negotiate tariffs. Chronic ethanol exposure produces sex-dependent impairments in value computations in the striatum. A Western dietary pattern during pregnancy is associated with neurodevelopmental disorders in childhood and adolescence. Poor sleep may fuel conspiracy beliefs, according to new research. Largest ever U.S. honeybee die-off has destroyed 1.6 million colonies. Floods devastate normally arid parts of Australia's Queensland. Drug-resistant fungal diseases on the rise, who says? Lonely people are even sadder after using chatbots, research finds. Marriage linked to higher dementia risk in older adults, 18-year study finds. Brain channels stopped in time reveal chemical flow that enables learning and thinking. Cambodia hails opening of China-renovated base. Japanese emperor visits Iwo Jima to honor the dead in one of WW2's fiercest battles. Germany's Rheinmetall aims to make engines for 2,000 km missiles and launch a satellite plant. Goldman Sachs lowers 2025 growth forecast for Chinese stocks thanks to Trump tariffs. 6 days ago, Goldman Sachs trims Europe Stoxx 600 forecast on Trump tariff impact. UK's Jaguar Land Rover to pause shipments to US over tariffs. In the US, Besson calls tariffs a one-time price adjustment. China court auctions 100 tons of live crocodiles, starting at $550,000, no delivery. Philadelphia Zoo announces hatching of its first Galapagos tortoise babies, as endangered tortoise becomes first-time mom at about 100 years old. Rats bigger than cats are roaming Britain's second biggest city as garbage collectors strike. AP reports that federal officials are quietly terminating the legal residency of some international college students. Reportedly, in South Korea, crushing academic pressures start in kindergarten. NJ wins fight to put Notify app users in prison, impose fines up to $30,000. Spaniards march across 40 cities to protest the growing housing crisis. Hong Kong residential landlords get support from workers at hedge funds, crypto, Savills. Death toll rises to 33 as heavy rains flood DR Congo's capital. India and Sri Lanka sign defense and energy deals as Modi's visit strengthens ties. Armenian president signs law to initiate EU accession process. Davos Forum founder Klaus Schwab to step down as chair of trustees. U.S. negotiating minerals deal with conflict hit Congo, Trump official says. Thousands rally against Russian Wagner mercenaries in Central African Republic. Reuters Institute at Oxford University comments that, as Trump silences Voice of America, Russia and China seize the opportunity to reshape Africa's news ecosystem. Germany considers withdrawing 1,200-ton gold stockpile from U.S. in riposte to Trump. Millions march against Trump-Musk in nationwide hands-off protests, and Elon Musk says Saturday's protesters were paid puppets. Le Pen supporters rally in Paris, turning a protest into a populist show of force. Le Pen slams witch hunt, vows not to give up at Paris rally. Trump and Vance support Marine Le Pen after her conviction. Microsoft brings Copilot Vision to Windows and mobile for AI help in the real world. OpenAI says it'll release O3 after all, delays GPT-5. Midjourney releases V7, its first new AI image model in nearly a year. Mavoglurant reduces cocaine use in patients with cocaine use disorder in a Phase 2 clinical trial. Exposure to antibiotics as a newborn can impair immune response to vaccines, study finds. Neuroscientific model of near-death experiences finds consistent physiological pattern. Hantavirus, which killed Gene Hackman's wife, linked to 3 deaths in rural California town. Trump rejects Biden plan to expand Medicare coverage for obesity drugs. OpenAI tests watermarking for ChatGPT 4o image generation model. Uber and WeRide partner with Dubai's Road and Transport Authority to bring autonomous vehicles to Dubai. China launches HDMI and DisplayPort alternative. GPMI boasts up to 192 gigabits per second bandwidth for 80W power delivery. Man sues China gaming firm for depression after being virtually slapped 4,800 times. Thalamus modulates consciousness via layer-specific control of cortex. Powerful forces have made the structure of the universe very messy, as cosmological data suggest the universe has become messier and more complicated. OpenAI's models memorized copyrighted content, new study suggests. BBC cries foul over lack of branding for its Apple News stories. I fear for my loved ones, Russian BBC journalist shaken by foreign agents' label. Wikimedia must remove India content deemed defamatory, court rules.
Crypto, politics, tech, and more. Get your daily news fix with News Source Scrawlers April 4th, 2025 edition. Number 1 hit and more. YouTube music charts. Global top songs March 21st to March 27th, 2025. Die with a Smile. Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars.
APT, Rosé y Bruno Mars. El mayor de los ranas, Víctor Valverde y J.R. Torres.
Like Janini. Spotify Weekly Top Songs Global. From the Friday, March 21st to Thursday, March 27th, 2025. Die with a Smile, Lady Gaga APT. Rose, Bruno Mars. Birds of a Feather. Billie Eilish. Anxiety Doekii. Nintendo US Digital Bestsellers, from March 31st, 2025. Minecraft. Super Mario Party Jamboree. Xenoblade Chronicles X. Definitive Edition. Stardew Valley. Steam's hottest games. Global top-selling and top-played games across Steam. From the top 100 products by revenue list, for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 to Tuesday, March 25, 2025. Counter-Strike 2. Assassin's Creed Shadows.
RPO Split Fiction.
Monster Hunter Wilds. CISA's cybersecurity alerts and advisories. CISA releases malware analysis report on research malware associated with Ivanti Connect Secure. One more drop in the ocean of AI. ByteDance Mega TTS-3 rocket lightweight and efficient. The backbone of the TTS diffusion transformer has only 0.45B parameters. Thumbs up ultra high-quality voice cloning. See the demo video below. We also report results of recent TTS models on the seed test sets in the following table. Globe showing Europe-Africa bilingual support. Supports both Chinese and English and code switching. Writing hand controllable. Supports accent intensity control white heavy checkmark. And fine-grained pronunciation/duration adjustment, coming soon. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong says Congress should allow stablecoin companies to pay users interest. As in the U.S., top lawmaker shuts down Coinbase plea for interest-bearing stablecoins. Circle hires J.P. Morgan. Citi with plan to file IPO in late April. Fortune. Bloomberg comments as tariffs disrupt Bitcoin mining supply chain rooted in Asia. NYC Mayor Eric Adams' case dismissed with prejudice despite Trump admin's request to allow for later prosecution, and NYC Mayor Eric Adams will skip the Democratic primary and run for re-election as an independent. The Hill comments as Vance-Harris seen as top 2028 White House contenders. Pence to receive JFK Profile and Courage Award for 2020 election certification. 7 months ago, Vance again says he wouldn't have certified 2020 election if he was vice president. And 1 year ago, Trump warned Pence certifying election results would be a career killer, witness testified. In U.S., inability to pay for care medicine hits new high. The richest Americans live about as long as the poorest Europeans, study says. Hong Kong won't set limit on student screen time despite health concerns. FDA planning for fewer food and drug inspections due to layoffs, officials say. In the U.S., several federal agencies launch a deferred resignation effort to encourage workers to leave their jobs. Musk will stay until he completes Doge mission, White House says. Amazon and OnlyFans founder make last-minute bids to buy TikTok as U.S. deadline looms. TikTok for artists gets tested as Trump mulls TikTok America plan. Over 90% of student suicides in Hong Kong were aged 12 and above. Beijing calls on HSBC to help improve Sino-British ties, boost Hong Kong's image. Capital One deal for Discover clears Justice Department hurdle. Denmark's Maersk buys Panama Canal Railway Company. 55-year-old underwater camera trap set for Loch Ness Monster is found. Ancient DNA reveals lost human tribe that lived in Green Sahara. Amazon to launch first batch of Kuiper satellites on April 9. Oracle tells clients of second recent hack, login data stolen. Recently it has been reported as Oracle attempt to hide serious cybersecurity incident from customers in Oracle SaaS service. TikTok faces fine over 500 million euros for China data export. European police say Kidflix, one of the largest pedophile platforms in the world, busted in joint operation. Ford will offer employee pricing to all U.S. customers for the next 2 months as auto tariffs go into effect. And every car is about to get more expensive. It's just math, former Ford CEO says. Reportedly, Tesla is sitting on $200 million worth of Cybertruck inventory. Xiaomi EV delivers over 29,000 cars in March 2025. Iconic binoculars building hits market in Los Angeles. A quadplex penthouse on New York's billionaires' row lists for $110 million. Climate crisis on track to destroy capitalism, warns top insurer, and lingering El Niño events are becoming more common. Study uncovers 7,000-year trend. Slovakia approves cull of 350 bears after man mauled to death in latest fatal attack. India's parliament passes controversial bill that would change Muslim endowments. Demoscene now also recognized in Sweden as UNESCO Cultural Heritage. Now You See Me 4 in the works as third movie gets official title. Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Disney's Tangled live-action movie on hold indefinitely. Glenn Powell films Running Man remake in London 37 years after original Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Trump unleashes 10% global tariffs with higher reciprocal rates. Bloomberg comments as Trump tariff rollout opens new era of risk for global economy. Russia, Belarus excluded from Trump's sweeping tariffs due to existing sanctions, White House says. China vows to retaliate after bullying U.S. imposes 34% reciprocal tariffs. Greece vows to spend $27 billion on armed forces overhaul centered on high-tech warfare technology. In the U.S., Army planners are weighing force reductions of up to 90,000 active-duty soldiers. Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger to form joint force to fight jihadist insurgency. In the U.S., DoD opens investigation into Pete Hegseth's use of Signal, as reportedly Waltz's team set up at least 20 Signal group chats for crises across the world. European Commission takes aim at end-to-end encryption and proposes Europol become an EU FBI. 5 VPN apps in the App Store had links to Chinese military. Israeli strike kills dozens at Gaza City shelter, officials say. Hungary says it will withdraw from ICC as Israel's Netanyahu visits. Axios reports that Kushner's Abraham Accords Institute to merge into Heritage Foundation. U.S. bans government personnel in China from romantic or sexual relations with Chinese citizens. Radio Free Europe says U.S. switches off satellite transmitting Russia broadcast. Trump tariffs may drive bad loans in China to pandemic high levels, S&P says. GPT 4.5 passes Turing test with Persona. AI conversational abilities reach new heights. To celebrate 50 years of Microsoft, Bill Gates had released the original source code of the BASIC for Altair 8080. India tech startups worth $100 billion seen seeking IPOs by 2027. Trump administration fires Director of National Security Agency. As Washington Post reports, National Security Agency chief ousted after far-right activist urged his removal. The Hill comments as Trump makes history by pardoning a corporation. White House postpones Saturday garden tours due to anti-Trump demonstrations. Canada unveils limited countermeasures against U.S., calls Trump move a tragedy, as Canada to counter unjustified U.S. tariffs with 25% taxes on U.S. cars, says Carney. Japan deeply concerned about U.S. reciprocal tariffs, demands removal. Macron calls on EU companies to freeze investments in U.S. It has been commented as Trump's new tariffs construct a $1 trillion trade wall around the U.S. economy, and Trump open to tariff cuts in return for phenomenal offers. EU to target U.S. online services after Trump tariffs. France. In China, Pinduoduo to invest more than $13 billion over 3 years to support merchants. Bulgaria's government survives a no-confidence vote, brought by a pro-Russia political party. Russia bans Elton John's AIDS Foundation to defend spiritual and moral values. Pro-Russian Bosnian Serb leader Dodik surfaces in Moscow amid charges in Bosnia. Michael Jackson biopic likely splitting into 2 movies and delaying release date. How to Train Your Dragon 2 live-action remake coming to theaters in 2027. Bruce Springsteen to release 7 albums of unreleased songs. Tracks 2. The Lost Albums. Bonobos use a kind of syntax once thought to be unique to humans. Marine microbes reveal new gene clusters for hydrogen production. Cells lining your skin and organs can generate electricity when injured, minus potentially opening new doors to treating wounds. U.S. Energy Department invites AI data center development at Los Alamos and other federal lands. Google in advanced talks to rent NVIDIA AI servers from CoreWeave. The Information comments as NVIDIA faces dilemma after Chinese firms rush to order $16 billion in new AI chips. Artificial sweetener found in diet drinks linked to brain changes that increase appetite, study finds. U.S. Supreme Court largely backs FDA's denial of flavored vape product applications. A demanding work culture could be quietly undermining efforts to raise birth rates. Intel, TSMC recently discussed agreement to form chip-making joint venture. ChatGPT users have generated over 700 images in 1 week, OpenAI says. AI bot strain Wikimedia as bandwidth surges 50%. Advertising banned on all sites blocked in Russia starting September. Spotify tells advertisers users are not passively scrolling on app, NYT says. QVC launches first 24/7 live shopping streams on TikTok. Mark Zuckerberg lobbies Trump to settle antitrust suit against Meta. And U.S. Senate committee opens review into Meta's efforts to gain access to China. Brazil now investigating Apple over app tracking transparency after Meta complaint. New York Times reports that EU prepares major penalties against Elon Musk's X. Amazon's new AI agent will shop third-party sites for you. OpenAI and Anthropic are fighting over college students with free AI. AI masters Minecraft. DeepMind program finds diamonds without being taught. Nature reports that Trump White House directs NIH to study regret after transgender people transition. YouTube removes gender identity from hate speech policy. UFC signs wide-ranging sponsorship deal with Meta, bringing Mark Zuckerberg closer to Dana White. 2025 MTV Video Music Awards to air on CBS for first time. Will simulcast on MTV. The Simpsons, Family Guy. Bob's Burgers renewed for 4 more seasons. American Dad, officially returning to Fox. The NHL just struck a $7.7 billion deal with Rogers, which is more than double the previous media rights contract they signed a decade ago. President Donald J. Trump declares national emergency to increase our competitive edge, protect our sovereignty, and strengthen our national and economic security, as President Donald J. Trump declared that foreign trade and economic practices have created a national emergency, and his order imposes responsive tariffs to strengthen the international economic position of the United States and protect American workers. Treasury Secretary Bessent tells countries not to retaliate after sweeping Liberation Day tariffs. In the U.S., Senate rebukes Trump's tariffs as some Republicans vote to halt taxes on Canadian imports. Princeton considers issuing bonds same day as federal government pauses grants. Trump administration sends Harvard a list of demands to protect federal funds. Brown University in Trump's crosshairs after Columbia may lose $510